Good evening. For those who are standing, please take your seats at the tables. Well, good evening. Thank you very much for coming to our dinner. Thank you for being at our Women's Forum Brazil, an environment where we have a rich topic, a key topic for the growth of our business, but also for the growth of society as a whole. Now we will have a second part. As I said before, we hope it'll be as inspiring as the last session with the minister and the other speakers. And now we will have dinner and a conversation among the groups, but before watching the video, I would like to thank some of the guests who are here. First of all, the Consul of the USA, Mr. Dennis Hankins. Also, the Consul of South Africa, Michaeletsi Melanie Dubé. Veronique Morali, Chairman of the Women's Forum for the Economy and Society. Jacqueline Franjou, CEO, Women's Forum for the Economy and Society. Albina Ruiz, Chairman of the NGO Ciudad Saludable. Beth Brook, Global Vice President for Ernst Young. Catherine Pegard, Chairman of the Chateau de Versailles. Franklin Feder, CEO of Alcoa for Latin America. Beth Clemente, professor and researcher of the University of Fortaleza. I'd like to thank you all for being with us, and apart from other participants and executives from PepsiCo who are with us. PepsiCo is the second largest food and beverage company in the world, but few people know all our portfolio. We will see a quick video just to understand better the company PepsiCo.
Across the vast heartland of America, the vibrant cities of the Middle East, the fertile countryside of Asia, to Mexico, India, Russia, Brazil. One company shapes the way we eat, drink, work, farm, inspire, innovate, live. PepsiCo, a world premier food and beverage company. A century of celebrating and refreshing the world. Brands that have become global icons. Practices that sustain the business and the environment. Innovation that is changing the game.
To many more years.
This is PepsiCo today, a global leader, a step ahead, motivated by performance with purpose, the beacon guiding our business.
It's at the core of everything we do. It fuels our growth and drives our success and shapes our future.
A portfolio delivering sustainable top-line growth, a pace setter in R&D, providing a wide range of foods and beverages, from treats to healthy eats. This is PepsiCo today, a steward of the environment, minimizing our impact and driving productivity. In 1 year, 2 prestigious awards for water conservation, a trailblazer in sustainable agriculture and energy reduction, the largest commercial fleet of electric trucks in the U.S., a company that dares to dream.
We as a corporation need to help solve the challenges that we're facing.
This is PepsiCo, a more than $65 billion food and beverage company, $22 billion brands, touching consumers more than 1 billion times a day. And this is PepsiCo, consistently honored as best place to work.
It makes you feel like a sense of pride because I made it, we made it.
More than a company, a community of families with passion and compassion for communities of families we serve. We are PepsiCo.
I'm very proud that each day our associates across PepsiCo are working both inside and outside the company to make the world a better place.
From making history to making everyday moments count. Captivating. Motivating. Dazzling. Inspiring. We're PepsiCo.
Performance with an objective is truly our motto. And our chairman brought us this concept in 2006 when she became chairman of the company. In spite of many of these initiatives that were coordinated and synthesized under this concept, it is true that as of this time, this agenda became very important in the company. Performance with a purpose has four pillars. The first is financial sustainability in the long term, because without the oxygen of financial return, it would be difficult to achieve in other things. The second is human sustainability. The third, environmental sustainability. And the fourth, talent sustainability. In any of these pillars, the issue of diversity and inclusion are critical for us to accelerate and implement in a more rapid and efficient way our performance goals with objective. Diversity and inclusion include, although not only them, the women. And why women are important. We've seen many of the numbers today in many presentations that we heard, but inclusion of women and not losing women's talent brings us a financial return in the long term and brings more engagement and also a feeling of belonging to a company, and also makes this world a better and more fair place to live in. Within this objective, we also support inside the company actions not only to retain our talent, and we have all the programs that we saw here for talent retention, mentoring, work-life balance, flexibility in the work, retention programs where we offer career alternatives for women who are going through difficult situations when having to choose between maternity and the work, but also with empowering programs. We saw Albina showed one of the programs for scavengers we have in Peru. In Brazil, we launched shortly a recycling program where the majority are women that receive support by this process, and we support also an important project for access to water in the semi-arid areas in Brazil to minimize the impacts of droughts in the last few years in Brazil, and also water reservoirs for women who can work with family agriculture. Because we see the impact of these actions and what this has brought to our business, we still have a lot to do, we know. And we know we still have a lot to do. And we won't be able to do this alone. Therefore, events like this one, and partners like Women's Forum are critical for us to accelerate this agenda. We still need to discuss the issue of man in the social context where women begin to have a more important role within the house. So, mentoring inside the home is important. New models are important because the numbers show us that we're very far from where we want to get. That is why, for us to accelerate and warm up the engines, I'd like to invite Franklin Feder, Mr. Franklin Feder, to talk about this issue with me here on the platform. Let's give a hand to Franklin Feder. Because before we begin, after the presentation by Albina Rees, I was moved and I thought, imagine, why not? Why not imagine a world that is more fair, where women have equal participation wherever they want? Franklin, to warm up the engines and picking up one of the issues of the forum, how we can make a difference, I'd like to know from you, a leader, apart from being a leader and CEO of a large company that has made a great difference, how can we have more Franklins? How can we involve more leaders for this agenda, women's agenda? First of all, good evening, good evening. Before anything else, I would like to thank the Women's Forum for the invitation, especially you, Andrea, and PepsiCo for this invitation. Before talking about Franklin's men's, I would like to mention our credentials and also the disclaimer. The credentials, I have the honor of working in a company like Alcoa, who a few months ago, in a ceremony in the Waldorf Astoria in New York, had the honor to receive the Catalyst Award of 2012, together with the competitor and Unilever. This was a landmark in the history of Alcoa. And in Brazil in the year 2012, to my total surprise, we were recognized by the Great Place to Work as the best place for women to work. I was on the platform receiving this recognition. Total surprise. I turned to Vania Cabani, who is our Director of Human Resources, HR, and I said, now we must truly do something for women. So, these are the credentials, the disclaimer that I would like to make, and I'm sure that the CEOs who are here, your companies are different from Alcoa, but in Alcoa, the CEO only shows the direction. Those who make things happen are the employees. We have many people from Alcoa. Tanya could be in my place, who for many years presides our group of women in Alcoa, and not the CEO. Having said this, Andrea, how can we involve more CEOs to help advance this cause, women's cause? Here I'm not saying that Alcoa is right or wrong. I just want to talk about Alcoa's way of doing this. It's one of the directions, it's not the only one. Alcoa's way, first of all, the issue of inclusion is one of value. Alcoa has 5 values. It begins with integrity, then respect, innovation, health, environment, and safety. So operational excellence. Within respect, within this value, respect, we include inclusion. So this is the beginning of everything. We believe that inclusion is as important as integrity. Integrity, which is the beginning of everything. So we're not discussing whether inclusion is a strategic initiative. It's a value. It's a value. So whether it refers to men or women in Alcoa, inclusion is something basic in the company. It's one of the pillars. It's a very interesting concept. It can be discussed, but it's interesting. So first, it's a value. Second, why a value? We understand that man has the responsibility, in English we say, cast his shadow as a leader. Men have the responsibility to really reflect this value to the whole company. So automatically, when defining this value, men are included in this mission. The third point is a value, shadow of leadership. The third is Alcoa, with the exception of me, is a company of engineers. We measure everything. We have metrics for absolutely everything. So this issue of inclusion, especially concerning women, is measured, and I would go even further. The variable compensation in Alcoa, 10% of the variable compensation is is used for is used as an indicator for inclusion. So we have a goal for women getting to better positions by job grade, by hierarchy. We have this goal, and when we reach this goal, we get 10% of the variable compensation or not. So 10% of the variable compensation is linked to a teaching goals in terms of inclusion, including women. So this is the way that we included, or we try to include, so these goals, including women. So okay, we can believe that Alcoa employees of the future as leaders will help in this agenda. How about outside Alcoa? How can we really engage other companies? So, in forums, how can we help to accelerate this discussion? I believe that we speak very little. I'm responsible for Alcoa. Truly, we as Alcoa, we speak very little to others about this. We could do more. Let's put it this way, we could do more. Talking to other companies in forums, in larger forums. Once again, the idea is not to say that Alcoa's way is the right way. We're not a perfect company. We would like to be, but we're not a perfect company. But we have a story to tell. And I believe we could tell it more times. We could spread this more. This is true internally and even more externally. We have homework to do. So let's go on to a second issue that arose during the day. And for example, do you believe we should speak more about women's issues? Should we include this to day, include this in day-to-day issues in the strategy of the company? Yes, I'm passionate about this topic of a company that is cautious and also ethical. I believe a company has the responsibility of giving a return on investment to shareholders, but in an ethical and moral way. I'm not the only one inside Alcoa that thinks this way. In Brazil, we have 6,400 employees who also believe in this. Within this concept of a company that is ethical and moral, yes, we have to really help women make progress. But not only women. Today, I believe Jorge Abreu mentioned this from Ethos Institute. He raised the issue of Afro-Americans or blacks. If we at Alcoa if we if we recognize the need to help women achieve their goals, we also have a lot to do for Afro-Brazilians inside the company. The issue of sexual orientation, we inside Alcoa have an important work to do. So, this issue of inclusion cannot cannot be limited to women. No, it goes beyond women. But this doesn't mean that we don't have programs and that we don't have to focus more on women, talk more about women's issues in Alcoa and in society as a whole. Franklin, you told me something during the CEO forum that I would like to repeat here. You said that diversity and inclusion are a little different. Diversity is to invite to the party, and inclusion is dancing cheek to cheek. What should we do to call people to the party and dance cheek to cheek? I believe there's there's a difference, and I did not invent this. I can say that this definition was created by a lady, a fantastic woman called Gina Lovett, who is the Director Vice President of Diversity and Inclusion of Alcoa. She's in Cleveland in the US. She always says diversity is being invited to the ball. Inclusion is dancing cheek to cheek. It's no use only being invited to the ball. It's not enough to have metrics and statistics to prove that 18% or 25% of our employees are women. The important thing is that these women truly participate, that they be engaged. And in the end, inclusion is this. And the focus that we want, and we know we're far from perfect, our search is to have inclusion. Not only reach the numbers, the metrics, the goals. So the issue of the ball, dancing cheek to cheek, I think a lot about this. How we can really dance cheek to cheek. Now talking about metrics, how about the quotas? The quotas. What is your opinion about quotas? If there is one topic that is difficult, it's this one, quotas. Let me declare, and no one will believe that this is simple. Of course, using quotas, I say this in a frank way, using quotas is an arbitrary and authoritarian decision. And being someone who grew in the 60s, I'm totally against quotas, but the Alcoa's practice, and I'm not, it's only an example. Yes, we use quotas, yes. We use quotas not in terms of how many women we should have at each level in the company, but we define quotas to fill positions. Don't tell me that we can't have 50% women. So the slate for candidates to a position necessarily must have 50% women. After that, we talk about meritocracy, competence, merit, and so forth. But the scope of the candidates, men and women, must include 50%. Is it fair? Is it correct? Is there an impact in the short term, long term? So we discuss this inside Alcoa. It's a long conversation. And at the end, we arrived at the conclusion that yes, we need quotas. I personally was in favor. I believe it's important. I believe it's an authoritarian and arbitrary position, but to really help this cause, and the cause is fair, within this concept of a company that must be ethical and moral because it's the right thing to do, I am in favor of these quotas. I know that there are different opinions. We can talk more about this. Now, to conclude, I'd like to ask you a question. Today, you were at the CEO Forum. You heard the ministers presentation, Albina, the panelists, did anything inspire you? Something that you heard today that made you think differently? Andrea, everything. Everything since the time when I arrived at 1:30 until now, all the presentations inspired me. And all these hours together confirmed to me that the truism, yes, we can. Yes, we together can make a great difference. The company, the government, we had Minister Isabella Teixeira, we had representatives of civil society, NGOs, Ethos Institute. We together, we can make a difference. I So a positive difference for a fair and ethical society. And this is the inspiration I had. Well, with this, we'd like to begin the dinner. During dinner, oh, please I'd like to ask everyone to be silent. I have to explain the rules. I know it was a long day, everyone's hungry. Now we will have dinner. Dinner will be served, and we will have discussions around the tables. So we have a table leader who will coordinate the activities. She will capture the discussions, the agreements, and at the end of the night, we will quickly talk about some of the highlights discussed around the tables. Franklin, thank you for your participation, and we wish you a good debate. Okay, in the tables. Thank you.
Bom, gente, eu tô quase encerrando.
Well, we're almost closing. Worse than the biologist that was moderator is me as cheerleader. Okay. So before we wrap up, and I would like to thank some participants. So, for example, maybe you saw this on your iPads. We're having we have a rally. Maybe you received the news on your iPads. There is a rally outside, so we may not be able to leave immediately the hotel. There are 65,000 people in the rally tonight. I don't know if they're all here on this street, but we may have some problems in leaving the building. So we can stay here and have some more wine. Some people have already seen the news on the iPhones, but the most recent news says that they crossed the bridge and they said that they will go in the direction of the governor's palace, but we have to confirm this situation. So let's have another Pepsi before we go home. And it'll be difficult to leave the hotel. Well, I looked at the questions. Well, before going into the questions, I would like to thank this delicious dinner that we had to Chef Thierry Buffeteux. I hope I pronounced his name correctly. Apart from everything, many of the ingredients used here came from Pepsi, and so we'd like to thank the chef for the delicious dinner and the decoration. The flowers and the candles were donated to us by Monica Rezendi. Response was so. We'd like to thank Monica Rezendi for the decoration. Well, let me read these cards. Well, helping women who are entrepreneurs to grow their business through the digital world. Yes, an interesting topic we didn't cover. Yes, the digital world and network can really empower women and their businesses to foster large companies to rethink their advertising campaigns to change the way future generations will think and show women not as housewives but as really entrepreneurs. Yes, very good. Good. Gabriela, thank you very much. Excellent content. We discussed this in one of the talks, the stereotypes, either the mother or the beach babe. So we have to change the way advertising shows women. So large companies should foster this. This is interesting. Women should not try to adapt to a corporate world created by men. Women must reshape corporate organizations and work hard. Yes, that's the general idea. Not try to adapt in a world that was not made by them. Programas mais formais para promover mulheres, mensurar e tornar gerentes responsáveis pelo progresso. As mulheres têm que se tornar executivas sem tentar se comportar como homens. So, make women aware of their power and empower women. Empower women is improving the lives of children and improving society too. Continuous improvement with a shared vision, networking among women, financial education for women, emotional intelligence. Very interesting. Mentoring and sponsoring to break paradigms, alternative policies within the companies, create diversity programs for different age brackets. How will you make a difference? Taking to my company's human resources, paternity leave, and other actions for those who want to balance work and family. Então, educando e mostrando caminho para produzir e ganhar. Okay, and to conclude, this one is very inspiring. Eu vou fazer mais do que realmente ser uma mentora. Eu vou patrocinar. With this last thought, we can close. One of the discussions we have had in my group is this one. How we, as a woman, can really embrace the cause and be not only a mentor, but be a sponsor of this agenda. Well, with this, I wish you all really a good night. Let's have more Pepsi, more wine. Thank you for coming. And tomorrow we have more.